Yep, here we go. Um, Gritty stuff tonight. Gritty stuff. Shout out to Jake from Skate Farm, man. Shout out to Ami Leg. Okay, so we have tonight a reaction I'm gonna do here. Natural reaction. Trying to keep it natural for you guys for sure. No editing. Teresa's escape from brutal satanic cult and bizarre rituals. 1989. 60 Minutes Australia. Satan's Children. Producer John Pennington. Um, this stuff is really, really dark. Um, this stuff is really, really dark. This stuff is also really, really dark. And then when you start thinking about it, you're thinking this stuff is really, really dark. And then when I start thinking back to other thoughts, and I ask a pal, I go, man, this stuff's really, really dark. So again, Teresa's escape from brutal satanic cult and the bizarre rituals that she had to endure. This is circa 1989. I just want you to think about that. 1989. That's how long ago this was. So let's get into it.
To describe this story as horrifying would be an understatement. And if that sounds like a warning, then that's exactly what it's meant to be. It deals with the sexual abuse of children by satanic cults. And not only that, human sacrifices as well. We started investigating these secret satanic cults when a British member of Parliament linked them with the ritual murder of children. In this day and age, it sounded too far-fetched, as did suggestions that the same thing might be happening in Australia. But then we met Teresa. She's only 15, and for 12 of those years, she's been the victim of relentless depravity. Teresa's story is both shocking and compelling, yet it's a story she's anxious to tell. But again, we should warn you that parts of this report may be distressing.
Um, and that's exactly it. This stuff is extremely distressing. I want to get this stuff up there and out there. There's many other channels that have covered this stuff, so I'm definitely not the first. However, this is one of those subjects that that rather is very difficult to try to wrap your head around because it destroys your worldview. So stay tuned. Lots of details to come, but this is one of those harrowing subjects.
Friends of family and strangers, and my family used to rape me, um, make me abort the babies I had.
It would be hard to imagine more misery and suffering than what Teresa says she's had to endure.
Now, unfortunately, she's going to keep referring to the word baby. She's stricken essentially in pain, having to recall these incidents. So keep that in mind. The quiver and whatnot. This stuff is really sensitive stuff. It's really unfortunate. It's really scary.
And us kids would be made to do things with the adults and the animals, and then a sacrifice would happen.
The sacrifice. Were these animal sacrifices?
Animals and people.
On what scale do you think this was happening?
Enormous.
So, as she's getting ready to say, on an enormous scale, people are being sacrificed. Animals were being sacrificed. Like this is real. This is like a real phenomenon that um, some minority has experienced from a visceral extent. So listen in.
Far beyond what we've ever heard of here before.
Teresa's mother, Bridget. You're talking about mass murder.
Yes, on a scale that this country's never heard of before. Like the old people's homes now.
For the first time, Teresa is learning what it's like to live with love instead of fear. In this quiet English village, with the help of her mother, she's slowly repairing her broken life. Teresa is now 15, but at the age of 2, she was left in the care of this woman, the grandma she called Nan. And that, she says, is when her torment started.
Now, from the maternal perspective, um, and the maternal perspective, or I wonder if is she the paternal grandmother? I'm just wondering her direct relation. But these kids and these victims and stuff like that, they don't have the relationships to put themselves into child trafficking and sex trafficking and satanic ritual, right? I have a unfortunate suspicion that it's the people that are close to them that are filtering them into these situations.
Who was the leader? Who was the boss of the gang, the cult?
At home, it was my nan.
Your Nan made you have sex with animals.
Yeah. Like goats and donkeys.
The story of Teresa is a story almost too horrible to recount. A case of child abuse that goes well beyond the kind of things we know.
It's like you can't even form sentences around the bestiality situations. And this stuff is so dark and ultra satanic. I do have a couple of other references that we'll be getting into: Baal, Beelzebub, Tulpas, Golems, the Book of the Law, 777, movies like Eyes Wide Shut. I'm one of these guys that believes like if there's good, then there's certainly evil.
Normally associated with the abuse of children. In 27 years of reporting, it has to be one of the most painful stories I've ever had to tell. How many men or how many people would have sex with you?
What, at one time?
Yes.
Everyone who was there, which must have been about 20. From 10 to 20 people. If it was a big ceremony, it used to be 30.
What would your grandma be doing?
Can you fabricate something like that? Can ceremony? Are you going to insert the word ceremony into the situation if it wasn't a ceremony? If it was a lie? I just feel like a lot of times the language is going to allude to the truth or not. Like you can always smell the truth when people are telling the truth. Some stuff like this is for a young person would be too incredible to be able to just make up.
These men were forcing themselves on you.
Usually laughing. Or
Jackals.
smiling. Or having sex with another man. Or other men.
A chronicle of debauchery and depravity so horrific it's hard to believe. You have to ask yourself, could Teresa be just making it up?
No.
It's like Sodom and Gomorrah and like Luciferianism, debauchery, as he was saying, debauched, wine and revelry. Complete access and evil. I wonder if like elites and people who partake in this type of stuff, if they're just like trying to express some raging decadence for themselves, some selfish raging decadence, because they have it all, so there's no limits anymore for them. Well, I guess that's what evil is.
I know what's true and what's not. No, I know what I saw.
Children don't make up elaborate lies that this would actually, if it was a lie, which I know it is not. It isn't.
This couldn't.
See, okay, I'm giving you guys my real reaction here. The Again, like I said, the parents with these situations, like these rural-minded situations, they're hidden away in middle America doing weirdo shit in the woods. Um, A lot of times when there's a big scandal, somebody has to take the fall, and so they have to stand up and look as if they're benign, but maybe they were a handler, maybe they were situated, maybe they were a part of that situation. Um, like a Ghislaine type of role with Epstein, Maxwell type of role, um, a cohort, somebody who's like handling people. That's what sex trafficking is. It's not just that sex act. It's like these relationships and all the clandestine, or like all the secret handlings behind dually behind the hidden scene that allow this type of economy to thrive.
Be a terrible dream, a nightmare that you're reliving.
And by economy, I mean sex trafficking economy.
No, it's no dream. It's a nightmare, but it's not one you can wake up from. It's there all the time.
This really happened. You're quite sure of that?
Yeah.
The police don't think.
How could a person so young maintain their composure so well, having been through so much incredible grief and intrusion? I was when I seen this years ago, I was convinced that this was real. Let me keep it real with you.
Teresa made up a story. Some of the cult members are to stand trial. 5 men have been charged with rape. As for Nan, the grandmother, she's 61 and lives in this council flat in South London. She's charged on 7 counts of aiding and abetting rape and 2 counts of performing abortions on Teresa. You're finding this hard to believe. So did I at first. But then there are the medical reports, evidence of sustained sexual abuse. And there's this, a statement prepared for 60 Minutes by Teresa's psychiatrist. It says, in my opinion, Teresa's account is not the product of a psychotic illness, nor the figment of a fertile imagination. I believe her to be telling the truth.
No, that's true. That's not.
We also took.
Now, you might not know this, but there's a lot of situations when these investigation teams find certain bodies and stuff. Sometimes they are actually classified as satanic ritual abuse victims. It just doesn't make it to the media because of the sensationalism side to it and how people digest it. You know, it's dark though. I mean, it's so dark how real this stuff is, and how also occult in the sense of hidden, because that's what the word occult means. It means hidden. It's very, very hidden and hush hush. Um, but how is it that we all get the sense of evil? How is it that you get creeps? How is it that um, the hair stands up on your neck? Or how is it that you have a extra sense, an extra sensibility when you need to, when you're right on the edge, and you needed to kind of pivot your head, you needed to turn around, you needed to avoid that lane, you needed to avoid that person. There's we do have some greater senses that are leading us to the spiritual truth. We all seem to believe in good.
Took Teresa's story to this man, therapist Ray Wire. He reads a transcript of our interview and listens to her voice.
It's no dream.
Few people, if any, in Britain have counselled as many victims of satanic abuse or Satanists themselves as Ray Wire has. If there is an expert on satanic cults, it would have to be him. Do you believe Teresa's story? I believe Teresa's story.
And that's the type of facts that I look at right there, or thoughts. Let's not even call it a fact. Let's just say there are specialists who handle these type of cases in real life. Let's say that that's a real thing.
It's exactly the same story as I've heard from men who says they've done it. You've dealt with other cases like hers? Yes. 21 cases like hers, he says, in the past 2 years alone. Themes like they were put in boxes with spiders and worms, where they were trapped in fear, where there was a high use of excrement and urine, where there was talk of human sacrifice. Take just one of those rituals, putting children in boxes with spiders and worms.
A high use of excrement and urine. Excrement. Um, the linings, the shit in your intestines. Poop.
Now, listen to what Teresa told her mother.
And they had a coffin-like box that children were put in with spiders and snakes and the lid shut and left in there. I would have come out deranged. I could not have coped with that mentally at all.
You have evidence to back up stories like Teresa's, that this is really happening? Well, we have that age of child, 6, 5, and 4, giving information that ties up with Teresa. How do those children know? How do those children able to describe rituals, to talk about ceremonies, to talk about sacrificing animals? How do those children know? Nightmares, imagining it? You can't imagine those things at 3 and 4 years old, and you also don't have the evidence of anal sex abuse and oral sex abuse and all that other abuse that clearly those children have experienced and endured. During these ceremonies, was Satan, the devil, ever referred to?
He was called Lucifer. Um,
Luciferian and Satanic rites of passage and ritualism is really real. In other cultures, they have other types of hoodoo and La Santeria and Blase Blase, Scottish rite, Manly P. Hall, the Secret Teachings of All Ages. I'll get into an excerpt on that here. But let's let this ride a little bit more. This stuff is crazy.
What did they say about the devil, about Lucifer?
that killing the people made him happy.
Sacrifices to please the devil. According to Teresa, the worst rituals took place at a house, somewhere in the country.
It was big, expensive. From the front, it looked like a castle. It had a long drive and big double wooden doors.
Do you think they were?
No, this is the Eyes Wide Shut factor. Just as a reference, please watch Eyes Wide Shut, one of my favorite movies of all time. Tom Cruise, Nicole Kidman. Long story. Stanley Kubrick, genius. It's really a popcorn eater. It's one of those ones like, okay, if you've been bored by film for a while, like sit down, shut the fuck up, watch scene by scene this movie. And I think that you could potentially be entertained if you could just be really patient. It's one of the dopest movies of all time. But you'll see my example if you do watch it.
Rich people there?
Very rich.
Now, where was this big house somewhere in the country? Teresa says she can't take the police there because the Satanists made sure she'd never know how to find it.
These hyper Anglo Rothschildian type manners.
Teresa was always drugged, or a couple of occasions she said she was knocked down, so that she never fully knew the route.
There was a tramp who was brought in once, and he was killed. He was cut from his throat down to his stomach, and that they ate him.
Candyman style. from the Golta Gullet.
bits of him.
They killed a man at a ceremony
Yeah,
in front of you.
yeah, in front of all of us.
Did the tramp, did this man fight back?
No, I think he was, drunk or something. He seemed really dopey. He was laughing a lot when he was brought in.
No, she describing. I could rewind it here a little bit. Was she describing somebody that was like maniacal, or was she describing somebody that was like under like a laughing gas situation because they were just like kidnapped and like brought to this area for the ritual sacrifice? I mean, I'm pretty familiar with these scenes, with trying to imagine these scenes. Unfortunately, just because I've written, or rather, I've read a lot of little interesting tidbits about this stuff. Um, whew.
And he started screaming when they began to cut. After a while, he died. I'd seen a few killings. He was, drunk or something. He seemed really dopey. He was laughing a lot when he was brought in. And he started screaming when they began to cut. After a while, he died. I'd seen a few killings before then. Although I wasn't used to it, that was the worst one. I really don't know what I thought. I suppose I thought, thank God it's not me.
Let me get this right.
So I think when I first came across this story, I'd never heard like a kid have to really express such a. And, you hear about shootings and stabbings and stuff, but nothing like really horror oriented where a kid saying like, yeah, no, I saw them murdering people in vicious ways.
Now, are you saying that you saw more than one person killed in that house?
Yeah. I've seen loads of babies killed there. Just newborn babies. Or aborted ones which are only small.
Now, there are, there is, I have heard about that. I mean, or rather, just to isolate such a thought where there's like some type of satanic surrogacy program or satanic surrogacy programs. Um, what?
4-year-olds. Any age really.
Did they ever say they might kill you?
They threatened to kill my little girl who, when I left, was still at the house.
A friend?
Huh?
What little girl?
My little girl, Alex. She's about 4 now.
You mean you had a child?
Yeah.
How old were you when you had that child?
11.
Motherhood at the age of 11. But from what Teresa told her mother, it wasn't the only pregnancy.
We think there's 7 or 8 times.
Now, I got to be honest with you. I didn't like. I've seen this video before, but I didn't mean to time it so well with the satanic surrogacy programming part. What the fuck?
It's hard to say. It was constantly happening from the time she was capable of being pregnant.
What happened to the pregnancies, to the babies?
They were aborted by my nan or by one of the doctors at the house.
There were doctors there at that house?
Yeah, there was 2, I think. Yeah, and a nurse.
What would happen to the fetuses, the unborn babies?
I used to be taken away most of the time, and one time baby was taken out of me and then killed in front of me because it was still alive.
Then what would happen?
After they killed it, they would eat it.
Okay. So we obviously have to go back a couple moments here. Let's go back. Let's go all the way back. Fuck it to 11:30 here. Okay. And the reason I'm trying to put myself in a situation to share this stuff is to say, okay, like, because I'm often thinking when I'm coming across information like this, I'm thinking, now, what's people's take on this? What's your take on this? Please comment. Please send me an email. Please fucking neglect this fucking video until 2 months from now, and then comment on this shit. What do you really think when you came across when they're saying this stuff? What do you think about this? Like, is this real? Could this have happened to you? Could it happen to your kids? How often has it happened under your nose and you didn't know? Um, I'm having like satanic panic right now.
From the time she was capable of being pregnant.
What happened to the pregnancies, to the babies?
They were aborted by my nan or by one of the doctors at the house.
There were doctors there at that house?
Yeah, there was two, I think. Yeah, and a nurse.
What would happen to the fetuses, the unborn babies?
I used to be taken away most of the time, and one time baby was taken out of me and then killed in front of me because it was still alive.
And then?
And so they would do that. I would assume that they would do something like that to try to put that member and or child in a position where, hey, you're seeing death all the time. It's not going to be anything for us to kill you too if you open your mouth.
What would happen?
Well, after they killed it, they would eat it. Little wee holes they made to eat it.
You were made to eat your own fetus?
Yeah.
Who made you do this?
My nan.
What?
You think the one person in the world you could leave a little girl with would be grandma?
Her. Okay, so her nana made her consume her own fetus, her own child. I mean, come on, man. Like, that's so bad, dude. Moloch. That's so bad, dude. I'm looking up something concrete on ball. Bear. Having some issues here. Let's get back into the video. Baal, Baal, Moloch, Beelzebub. There's hundreds of names of these old daemons, these fallen ones uh, that inhabit potentially some people, uh, turn them into monsters that do monstrous things to other people.
No. Someone to give her love and protect her from harm. Yet, when Teresa was left to live with her grandmother, they might as well have handed her to the devil himself.
Grandmothers, I mean, originally it conjures up for you. Sweet old lady, grey hair, rosy cheeks, holding her arms out to love her grandchildren. And it was exactly the reverse.
But why was Teresa living with Nan in the first place and not with her mother?
When
You gotta wonder what happened to Nan. Like, was Nan fucking prosecuted?
my first marriage broke up, I took the children with me. I couldn't cope. So I gave them to their father, who in turn moved to his mother's.
To Nan's place?
Yeah. And when he left the Nan's place, he left the children there.
How do you feel now towards her grandma and the other people who did all those things to your daughter?
They disgust me.
Was she really unaware of what was happening to her daughter? Was she benefiting in any way? The 1970s Karen frame. Did she know what was going on? A lot of times with like sex abuse stuff, like the kid is experiencing it because the parent that is inflicting it on them, and so on and so forth. So I'm saying if the Nana was doing that to her, if that's her maternal mother, for which I was speculating on earlier, you know, gee,
They are the worst form of life this earth has had the misfortune to create. Vile.
Did you ever try to run away? You must have been frightened.
A couple of times I did, but my uncle, he caught me and brought me back.
Going to the police? Did that occur to you?
No. I thought it was normal, even though I didn't like it. I mean, you don't like to eat greens, but somehow, I thought it was just being called to be kind or something like that.
She said to me it was something.
Of course, we'll take it back here so you can try to decipher what she said there.
I mean, you don't like to eat greens, but somehow, I thought it was just being called to be kind or something like that.
She said to me.
One more time. One more fucking time. No big deal. 14 minutes.
Did you ever try to run away? You must have been frightened.
A couple of times I did, but my uncle, he caught me and brought me back.
Going to the police? Did that occur to you?
No. I thought it was normal, even though I didn't like it. I mean, you don't like to eat greens, but somehow, I thought it was just being called to be kind or something like that.
She said to me it was something that everybody did. She thought, like you don't like going to school, the dentist, you don't like going to the black masses.
It was never any different.
Wow. You don't like going to the black masses, like, cause like, like if your church was the black masses and it's just like, oh, I gotta go fucking do some bloodletting now, or I gotta go fucking sacrifice. Gotta break bread with Satan quick. Fuck.
I didn't have nothing to compare it to.
All part of life, Teresa thought. Even a miscarriage one day at school.
Yeah, I asked the teacher if I could go to the toilet, and she allowed me out. I went into the toilet and the baby was in my knickers. I thought it was dead, but it wasn't. It was still moving.
No.
And yet no one at school knew.
No.
Saw anything.
No.
Okay. I'm hella sensitive. I got babies. I got two beautiful daughters. Two amazing, beautiful, light of the world daughters. And just the mere thought of anything, any infraction happening to them, let alone physical or extra evil and sexual. I mean, oh my God, like I would be ready to blow the world up type of thing. I mean, so to imagine you're in school, you're what, in seventh grade, sixth grade, some crazy low grade, and you're having an abortion in the or rather your the fetus has come out of your body at school unwittingly to you, um, and this has happened to you before. uh, Gotta protect your kids. If you don't have to leave your kid at some funny ass institution all day, don't. If you can raise your own kids, do. um, Love your family, protect your family. There's evil people out here preying on stuff, dude. Another reference, why Johnny can't come home. Make sure you check that out. We'll get into that video at some point. That's an interesting one too. It'll tie into this completely, more on the sex trafficking side and how there's these routes into Greater Washington as professional sex workers and escorts, and like basic sex slaves and stuff like that. It's this stuff. There's a lot of current. There's a lot of things that have happened of recent that actually tie into this same notion with Epstein and what he was doing and how he was doing it and how they use this stuff to basically um, blackmail one another into deals and into communal thought and into their cabals and into their way of life. There's just something about hearing about the like the bloody side of it and them involving little people and stuff like that, children. Sucks.
Or if they did, they didn't say. She was treated for a high temperature, a fever, nothing more.
What did she do with the baby?
She kept her for a while because she was frightened that they'd use the child as part of the rituals. So she turned a pencil case into a little coffin. Apparently, she put roses in to make her smell sweet. Put a letter with her, pictures of herself.
Again, this is this little kid. This is this tiny little girl having to bury her own actual birth, her own actual child and fetus. Okay, she's describing this ceremony. She's describing what her little kid had to go through. Um, Again, I'm suspicious of her role as the mother in allowing this to happen to her daughter anyway, but she's definitely describing her baby gifting her baby's baby in its grave.
And a brother, picture of me.
And then I put it down the chute because I didn't want my nan to get it.
As we said earlier, the police have already charged some members of the cult. And we know they're also
Because she didn't want that cult to recover the baby.
investigating Teresa's accounts of those ritual killings. If there were as many as she told us, then the Satanists had a problem. How did they get rid of the bodies?
They had a tub, pretty big, I don't know. A very big tub, and they used to put the bodies and bones in there. And it used to go like, fizzy in it, and then there was nothing left. Well, there didn't seem to be, but when they cleared it out, there used to be a sludge at the bottom.
Teresa's story, her account, doesn't really support.
This guy, he looks a little bit like Austin Powers. Um, Look, shout out to McGrunch, shout out to my wife Rachie, shout out to Otis Redding, shout out to KB Rome, shout out to Go Goon Salami, um, Grunts, Licinia, his whole crew over there, his family. Stay tuned for those grunchy snacks and a number of other favorables that my buddy McGrunch will have available for you guys. The whole point of this stuff is to get into this together, try to build something together, try to uphold something together. Community is important, you know. Try to do that around it, but it's important. Shout out to my guy again, King Ghost, Gaslight It Drip, Shelly Bo out there. Um, Hope everybody's feeling good. Uh, Tommy Gunn, Chaz Suttles, um, Miss Headache. Hope people are well. Hope people are feeling good. Because this kid in this show seems to have not had some good times in her life. I wonder where she is today.
It doesn't surprise me in the light of Satanic abuse now. You get frustrated with people who just won't accept that these things do happen. Yes, because I worked with murderers in prisons for years. Not that long ago, a boy was found in a forest in southern England without a head. We have no doubts that men can do that. And yet, when we start talking about men within Satanism who actually believe in evil and it's the right to express evil, we suddenly have a doubt.
Really morbid cases that he's come across: decapitated heads and satanic rite ritual, abuse with kids, all this type of shit. He's like, yo, what the fuck? Wake up. This shit's hella real. People don't want to believe this shit because it scares them. It off kilters their view on the world, and their place in it. Um, I think I think under in an underlying way, one of the reasons we avoid stuff like this is because we want to be able to bitch about our own situations, low key. We want to be able to feel like our headaches are a big fucking deal. So you don't really want to know about the next person's shit, their baggage, because it might have been more harrowing than yours, and it might give you a perspective that says, you know what, fucking, you know, belly up, like just like hang in there, like don't be so hard on yourself. There's people out here really experiencing horrible shit. And that's what I'm saying. I think that's one of the reasons we do that is we don't want to we don't want to get out of our own head. We need a little bit more time to mull over our own issues, our own selfish issues and stuff like that. And when you find out about something like this, you already know you don't have any fucking problems. All your problems can be fucking figured out. Um, I guess we at the end of the day, um, we got to question our institutions. You got to question um, the care situations you put your kids in. You have to question these things. You have to have some sense of spirituality. You have to have some sense of spirituality. It doesn't mean that you have to be denominational and commit to a Lutheran church or something like that. You basically need to have an open heart for the universe and just try to treat people around you with love and respect, and kind of dive into the good, so that the fucking bad doesn't get you. Um, the bad can fucking get you. Shout out to my guy, Skateboard Jake. Um, People can drown themselves in sorrow. Skateboard Jake's a great guy, and he should, have the juice to share that greatness with a lot of people. Um, but internal sadness can make us do other shit, make us, you know, make us hustlers, make us grinders, make us say, fuck it, that's the satanic That's the satanic draw of the Book of the Law, 777, a book by Aleister Crowley, which says that you should do without will. You should do whatever you want to do. But that's actually what evil is all about, is not having um, real bounds. You got to have some bounds if you don't want to do evil shit. And that's what one of the other thoughts, as I digress from my guy Board, um, with the Travis Scott situation, is to say, like, if you were to go there, if you were signing up for a Rager concert, are you surprised when the raging started happening? So we want to express ourselves. We want to see. I think one of the big things, like with Majika and the dark realm, is investigation and just that overall sense of being maybe too interested in things like the tarot card, the Fool, fluttering around the world, looking at everything as it passes you by, like as life actually just passes you by, while you just try to check out all the details, look up under every rock. That's what magic is. Like, people get interested. We get interested in magic and things alike because we're trying to avoid our demise. Um, how can I get a little bit more magic out of my life? How can I extend my life a little more? How can I eat better? How can I sleep better? How can I have more power? How can I have more sexual drive, more sexual urge? How can I be smarter? How can I command my relationships better? How can I be better to my person? Um, how do I make the world treat me better? That's what magic's really ultimately about. Trying to stamp a place. It's about power. It's really just about power. It's not gonna fucking make you live longer though. Um, you're not gonna become immortal like that. Not in this, not in this spectrum or realm. I believe that these people are really interested in collecting souls, collecting spirits for themselves selfishly, enslaving these spirits in the after realm, in the ether realm. Um, if you get into that book, The Secret Teachings of All Ages by Manly P. Hall, he talks extensively about the nomenclature behind the details of the Iliad and of the ether and the other realm. Um, Let me see if I can't get something pulled up here on it. Really interesting stuff. Again, the Secret Teachings of All Ages. Just waiting for a quick descriptor. This stuff is really important, so that's why I'm being patient to go through it here. I apologize for the um, lag issues. The Secret Teachings of All Ages is perhaps the most comprehensive and complete esoteric encyclopedia ever written. The sheer scope and ambition of this book are stunning. In this book, Manly P. Hall has successfully distilled the essence of more arcane subjects than one would think possible. And low key, this book is it's intimidating when you look when the language is incredible. It's incredibly complex language, even for like myself, like who enjoys words. Like the every sentence is so full that it's like an awkward sentence. He covers Rosicrucianism, like the cult of the Rosy Cross, and other secret societies, alchemy, cryptology, the Kabbalah, tarot, pyramids, the zodiac, Pythagorean philosophy, masonry, which is super pertinent with Manly P. Hall. As an excerpt from this, he is considered one of the greatest Freemasons of all time. Germology, Nicholas Flamel, The Identity of William Shakespeare, The Life and the Teachings of Thoth, Hermes Trismegistus, The Kabbalah with a Q, Hiramic Legend, The Tree of Saraphoth, um, or Sephiroth, excuse me, Mystic Christianity, and more. So there are more than 20, there are more than 200 illustrations included here. This is essential reading for anyone wishing to explore esoteric knowledge. Again, that is The Secret Teachings of All Ages super interesting stuff. If you find yourself interested in symbology, numerology, the stars, anything like that, or spirituality, or just having a greater sense for people and the symbols around you, this is one of these books that's going to open you up to the thought, and the notion that things aren't what they really seem. Things aren't what they really seem, and there's a lot of puzzles, these cabals and these secret Masonic rites and stuff like that. Um, they do a lot of hiding with the codex. So I'll just say that get into that book. It was amazing. Um, I I used to read over it like years ago. I haven't read on it in years, but this stuff is definitely eye opening. So let's get back to the video. There's only a couple minutes left. We're at 17 minutes 30 seconds. Teresa's escape from brutal satanic cult and the bizarre rituals. 1989. So like I said, there's so much literature out there. There's so much information out there on these topics. So if you're on the fence, don't fuck around behaving as if you're on the fence. There's a lot of evidence out there that people are doing creepy shit.
As I was leaving Teresa's place, she handed me this note. It's addressed to the food crew. She says, "Thanks for bothering to help kids like me. I hope it helps." On the other side, there's a poem Teresa made up while she was staying at Nan's place. She calls it Nothing Left.
Nothing left. I would scream, but there is no voice left. I would cry, but there are no tears left. I'd fight, but there is no strength left.
That was just part of our investigation.
That's obviously really powerful imagery. The little girl. Um, she's crying, teared, angry, and done wrong. So sad, man. But she's brave as hell. She stepped up. She needed to expose these people, and hopefully she's somewhere in the world healing other people in a really lit way. Shout out to her. This stuff is horrible. I just wanted to get into this. Like I said, I want to be able to get into a lot of different topics and explore these topics together. What's the major question from this? Everybody's gonna say, "Is this real? Oh, this is bullshit," or maybe Wakeless Glenn. Maybe Wakeless is just doing this for clout, or maybe um, I'm an incel. You know, uh, this stuff is just crazy, man. We're gonna get into topics, man. Help me get into these topics. I'm gonna be patient, and I'm gonna keep exploring. Um, this stuff's crazy. I have more stuff coming on these topics. Like I said, we've referenced Ball and Beelzebub, Eyes Wide Shut, the movie, The Secret Teachings of All Ages, um, Hermes Trismegistus, Thoth, the Book of the Law, Aleister Crowley. There's all types of other thought forms to real physical, ectoplasmic type thought forms, golems and tulpas, real Ghostbuster shit. So keep getting into this shit with me. I'm gonna go tend to my family. I'm gonna probably be cruising around online tonight, um, in the digital space and shit in the city as we call it. Shout out to my guy Gaslight the Trip. Shout out to anybody that's ever played online with me. Um, I'm looking forward to seeing more of you guys in here. Let me know, comment what type of videos you guys want to continue to see. I'm going to get into all topics. Like this is some dark shit, obviously, but we got to have this type of content on there too, because I want to be sure that I keep saying this. I want to be sure that there's a wide spectrum of topics that we're going to jump into. So be patient with me. You're going to be able to at one point dive on my page, and you'll be able to just go popcorn crazy and really open up some thoughts, or at least be able to listen to my stuff passively, like a nice little podcast as we continue to mature our features. So again, I want everybody to have fun tonight and be chill tonight. We're gonna get into some comedy content too, wife, my dear beautiful wife. Um, like I said, comment down below. Let me know what video you want to do. Don't let me be selfish because I'll be in my head for the next year surfing the internet looking for crazy shit to do little presentation joints on. So let's yeah, this spooky kind of dark stuff is this is the turn of the season right now. I like this spooky kind of dark content. This was a really good reaction with. Hey, I appreciate you, Salami, man. I really do. Like I said, I'm doing this shit for you guys, so we're gonna find some. We're gonna have more content. So let me continue to build this shit up, so you guys can. You'll be able to go on the page and find the funny. You'll be able to go on the page and find the dark and the the spectacle type content, or the news. In the future, here we'll have a nice little scroll, like a news scroll going and stuff like that, and I'll pitch in some comments based on what's really happening. I'll have a better streaming and cast schedule coming up. I'm just trying to make sure that we can get some varying content on the channel first, and then I'm going to try to do some elongated casts and get a lot of my other friends involved. My hope is to get people involved, so if I'm not on, somebody else is on, and we're just kind of dropping into one another's channels and talking shit and blasting and sharing these thoughts together and shit. So I'm gonna be online cruising. Um, Shout out to you guys. Shout out to all my listeners. I appreciate you. All the few, the very few, um, the Salami. I appreciate you, wife. I obviously appreciate you. So escape, excuse me, Teresa's escape from brutal satanic cult and bizarre rituals. Um, you see her face right now, right? So really, really sad, really, really dark video. I got more content coming. What I'll do is when we hit genres like this, I'll string them together so that you can be sure to find them in order if that's your move for the night when you hit the channel. So share this stuff with your friends. Ask them if it's whack. Ask them if my opinion is whack. Ask them if I'm coming from a interesting place. Um, Ask them what you'd like to see, what they'd like to see, basically. So again, I appreciate you guys, and I'm fucking out of here. More spooky content to come. More spooky content to come. Also some funny.